Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes. Which stage of human development were we studying about?
Infancy.
Infancy, yes. We completed studying about the what you call the sensory abilities, motor development, the physical development, and so on. Okay. So today we'll deal with the cognitive development, and if there is time, we'll also deal with the socio-emotional development. As I told you in the initial classes, the development, it's not just a single dimension. It happens in a multi-directional manner. Okay, remember lifespan perspective? We learned that lifespan or the whole process of human development is lifelong. It's a lifelong process and it's also multi-directional, which means it happens in different directions, in different dimensions also. So we are learning about cognitive development in today's class in infancy. Okay. Now, something related to this topic, but still we'll take one example. Just imagine, okay? Imagine you've, after the pandemic, you're back to school. You're back here and maybe you did something wrong or maybe you did not submit an assignment. Okay, to a teacher. Which subject do you want? Whom are you afraid of the most? Yes, Abhilash, you're new here. Whom are you afraid of the most?
Ma'am, I don't really
Me?
have someone. No, ma'am, I don't have anyone who's really I'm afraid of.
Nobody. Okay, let it be. Let's imagine some hypothetical character. Okay, not a real life character. So you're very much afraid of the teacher because you have not submitted the assignment. You were supposed to submit this in the last week, but you have not done that till now. Okay, till date, you have not completed it. You have not even started doing it. So there is no question of completing it, isn't it? And you meet this person on the corridor. You are walking towards your class with your friends, and then you meet this person. You see that the person is coming from the other side of the corridor, walking towards you, and you are walking towards that person. So obviously, you'll meet at some point in the middle. Okay. And suddenly you get an idea. You just hide behind one of your friends. You just hide behind one of your friends. So the teacher who is coming from the other side, will the teacher know that you're present behind that person or not? That's the question. Will the teacher find out that you're present behind your friend?
Ma'am, if you hit well, then she or he probably won't.
Louder, louder, louder.
Ma'am, if you hit well enough behind the front, then they won't know.
Okay. Yes, that does know. Now, let me change the situation a little bit. The teacher saw you. Okay. And the teacher also saw you hiding. Now, when will the teacher get to know that you're behind that person, behind your friend? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Now, it's the same thing that you're doing with an infant. Okay, you at one moment you're in front of an infant, and the next moment you hide behind the wall or you hide behind some other person, and the child cannot see you, or the infant cannot see you. Okay, will the infant think that you're still present there, or will you just, or will the infant think that you just escaped or vanished?
Ma'am, an infant would think that we just vanished.
Yeah, they'll think that you just vanished or you just disappeared that moment, isn't it? Yes, the basic hide and seek that you do, or if usually last class we learned about the reflexes, isn't it? And there we learned about the grasp reflex, remember? Yes, when the arm is poked, they'll do like this, isn't it? And I told you when they grow a little bit, they'll start the voluntary grasping too. So whichever thing that they hold on to, they'll just grasp it. Okay. And when this happens, if suppose it's mom's or dad's iPhone that this kid is grabbing onto or grasping onto, will mom and dad allow that? It's a brand new one. Will they allow it? Obviously not, isn't it? And then they'll shoo it away and they'll hide somewhere else and tell them it just vanished or it just escaped. Magic. The new magic tricks that the parents do to an infant. Yes, we all have seen that, isn't it? Do you know why that happens? Have you thought about the scientific part of it? Yes or no? How are you thinking now?
Ma'am, because the brain isn't developed enough to understand hiding behind an object.
Okay, it's not about the brain alone, it's about the cognitive development, the thinking skills, the thinking capacity, the whole psychological development also. Okay, and there is a particular name for that phenomena. It's called object permanence. The knowledge that this object is present there, object is permanent there. Like if I show this hand to the infant, if I hide it with something else, or maybe if I show this thing to the infant, if I hide it with this hand, the infant will think that it escaped, vanished from the sight because it's out of sight, isn't it? Yes. But if I show you this, you already know that your teacher is trying to fool you. Yes. Okay. So that is called object permanence. That is just one part of the cognitive development that we are going to study. So the whole topic is about the infancy stage and the cognitive developments that are taking place in this stage. So let's see one by one. Okay. And this object permanence and all those things are described in the theory of cognitive development, or we call it cognitive development theory by Jean Piaget. It's not Jean Piaget, it's Jean Piaget. Okay, we'll be learning about this person's theory. It has so many other stages and all. So we'll start, obviously we are starting with infancy. So the first stage will come in infancy. Now, according to this theory and according to the general conception, children actively construct their understanding of the world. Actively construct means just like building a flat or an apartment or a big shopping complex. Right from the building blocks, it is growing day by day, isn't it? With all the materials that we put in, that we include in while making it. So just like that, our knowledge basis or our cognitive basis, it is also built upon. It's actively constructed through each day's understanding by the infant. Okay. Whenever we go through each development stage, we are again actively constructing the knowledge. Right now also, you're doing the active construction of knowledge. That is, you're gaining new information from the classes, isn't it? Object permanence. Did you hear about that word before? No, right? It's a new word. Yes, that is also an active construction. You're putting that word into your knowledge basis. So, according to Jean Piaget, children actively construct their understanding of the world. Now, additional information acquired, that is each day, they or each moment, these infants, they achieve or they gain additional information, they acquire additional information, then adapted new ideas formed as they progress through stages. They adapt to different situations. New ideas are formed from the knowledge that they are gaining, from the understandings that they are gaining each day. Now, there are different ways of thinking in different stages. According to Jean Piaget, he says that there are different ways of thinking, different stages. Again, from the example that we discussed, the infant might think in different way when you hide behind something or someone. But the teacher or your professor might think in some other way, isn't it? It's higher order thinking. We call it higher order thinking skills. Okay. Then 0 to 2 years. That is the main stage that we have to discuss in infancy stage. Experiences the world through senses and interactions with objects, looking, hearing, touching, mouthing, and grasping. Along with the reflexes, they sense each things. Okay, that's why we learned the sensory abilities prior to this cognitive development. The main stage, that is the first stage in Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development, it has a name. It is called sensory motor stage. Sensory motor stage. If you have the textbook, you can take page number 72. Page number 72, table 4.2. The whole box is regarding Piaget's stages of cognitive development. It's the first stage that happens in infancy, 0 to 2 years. That is the general, age range in infancy. And the stage is called sensory motor stage of development. So you can see these two words, sensory as well as motor. Sensory means it's related to the senses, all the 5 senses. Then motor, what is motor related to? The term motor is always related to something. What is it?
Movement.
Movements. Motor means, always remember, movements. So sensations along with the movements. That is the focus in the first stage. So they experience the world through senses and interactions with objects. These interactions, it can be through these reflexes or through voluntary actions that they engage in. Like when they reach 1 year or 2 years of age, they can easily voluntarily take in different movements and actions, isn't it? If we ask them to wave, they can wave easily. They learn that. So they are actively constructing their knowledge from day 1 till all through this infancy stage and all through the other lifespan stages. So newborn lives in the present. That's a very important statement, isn't it? Newborn lives in the present. They don't have any regrets about the past. They don't have any tensions about the future also. They're not worried if they'll wake up tomorrow. They're not worried if they have to find their own food, or if they have to earn their money, or if they have to go to school. No, they're not much worried about the coming days. They don't have any much regrets about the past also. They might not even remember what mistakes they did in the past few days, maybe the previous day. Okay, so they generally live in the present. That is another focus of this stage of infancy stage. The newborns lives in the present. Then I told you they lack object permanence. I have highlighted this word. They lack object permanence. It's the common mistake that students make. When we learn object permanence in this stage, they write that object permanence is present in sensory motor stage, but it is the opposite. The infants lack object permanence. I'll tell you what object permanence is. It's there in the next slide. See, object permanence. The awareness that the object continue to exist even when it is not perceived in front of you. That is object permanence. You can note down this definition. The awareness that the objects continue to exist when not perceived. Perceived means perception. After sensation, when I told you the example that I tell you every time. When you hear my voice, that is sensation. When you can understand or when you can perceive it's my voice, and you can understand or comprehend the language that I'm speaking, then that is perception. Okay, making sense out of the sensation. That is perception basically. All right. So the awareness that the objects continue to exist when not perceived. That's the example with the professor or the teacher. Even though you were out of his or her sight, they could understand that you're already present there. Okay. That is object permanence. They have the ability for object permanence, but this infants, they don't have this ability. They lack object permanence. Okay. So whose concept is object permanence? John Piaget. In John Piaget's cognitive development theory, there is a concept called object permanence, and there are more related topics coming up. That's why I'm telling this again and again. Object permanence means our awareness that an object continues to exist even though it is out of sight or even though it's not present in front of you. Okay. So gradually by 8 months of age, the child starts pursuing the object partially covered in his or her presence. So object permanence slowly develops through these 8 months of age. See, this is the thing. When toy is present in front of the infant, and when we cover it with some form of cloth or some other object, if it is an infant, a newborn, they won't understand that it's present. The toy is present beneath that towel or that cover. Okay, but when they are when they have reached almost 8 months or 8 months to 1 year of age, then they'll start to see if something is there underneath. Okay, like it's the same when we play hide and seek with them. Like when we cover the face, when they try to pull our hands back, then that means they are slowly developing object permanence, because they have a thought in mind that something, or maybe their mom or dad, is present behind that hands. Okay, that is again object permanence. So by 8 months to 1 year of age, they slowly start to develop this object permanence. Usually in infancy or in sensory motor stage, object permanence is absent or they lack the capability for object permanence. Towards the end of this sensory motor stage or towards the end of infancy, they start developing object permanence. Is that clear? Okay. Then this is regarding the language and communication. The basis of verbal communication is present in infants and vocalization begins. We call that babbling. Okay, in infants, we call it babbling. We don't say that they are talking, but they are babbling. And this happens around 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months of age. They start making small voices, isn't it? Feeble voices or maybe loud voices, just like minions, blah blah blah, which we don't understand, but maybe the mothers can relate. Some of the primary caretakers can relate to what they are trying to convey. So basis of verbal communication is present in infants. That is, they know to make small sounds, cooing. Some of them coo. How do you coo? Just say coo. That is a coo. Okay. Then babbling also. Then there are also some set of weird noises which we don't even have a name for. Yeah, they're very innovative in the babbling and the vocalization, isn't it? Okay, so that's about the talking and all other things. So social emotion development. Before that, we'll just see the slides once more. So cognitive development in infancy stage. Always remember this sensory motor thing. Okay, sensory and motor. And these points are also important. Looking, hearing, touching, mouthing, and grasping. These are the means by which they improve their knowledge bases, improve their cognitive development. Only the coordination with the senses and the motor movements happens in sensory motor stage. That's why it is given such a name, sensory motor, which means they just coordinate with the sensations along with the movements, small movements, not the the complex movements that adults engage in, but still. Okay, and also another point to notice, they lack object permanence. Towards the end of infancy, they start to develop this capability of object permanence. Now we'll see socio-emotional development. The socio-emotional development that is happening in infancy stage. Here, There is a famous theoretical concept given in the textbook. It's an experiment. Before that, attachment. Attachment is something that we always discuss when we discuss about the socio-emotional development of infants. Yes, the main thing or the main socio-emotional developmental task that an infant would have to go through is the attachment, isn't it? Forming an attachment towards the primary caretaker. Whoever is taking care of the baby, they form an attachment with that. Yes? Yeah. And through this experiment, you'll understand it's not only about the the food that one gets. Like the first and foremost thing that that an infant gets or receives from the primary caretaker is the feed, isn't it? If it's a birth mother, then obviously the milk, the breast milk that the mother provides to the infant. That is the basis of the attachment. But you'll see here that it's not only about the feed, or it's not only about the food item or the thing that the infant gets to drink, but it's also about other forms of comfort. We'll see that. Before that, just note down this definition. Attachment, the close emotional bond of affection that develops between infants and their parents or caregivers, or we call them primary caretakers. It can be the mother, father, or if parents are not there, it can be grandparents, anybody. So it's a bond or close emotional bond, close connection of emotions between an affection between the infant and the primary caretaker or the caregivers. Generally, we say parents, but still caregivers or primary caretakers. So this is attachment. Okay, let me ask you, is it possible to have an attachment towards another species?
Yes.
Yes. What about the infants? Not about the adults or adolescents or the elderly people. What about the infants?
Still yes, ma'am.
Still yes. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So attachment study. There is a famous experiment. Have you heard of this? Anyone? Attachment study? No. Okay. Let's see. So Harlow and Harlow, the other people. I told you, last day when people do experiments or when they do studies or when they publish an article, it's the last name that is always present. So that, hence we have Harlow and Harlow. They might have been partners or they might have been siblings, anyone. So Harlow and Harlow in 1962, that's an important year, they conducted this study. And let's see what the study was. The participants of the study were baby monkeys. Okay. So baby monkeys separated from their mothers approximately 8 hours after birth. That was the set of participants. So after birth, after 8 hours, they have been separated from their biological mothers. Okay. Then they were placed in experimental chambers for 6 months. Okay, they were placed in experimental chambers for 6 months. So what kind of observation would have been happened here? Is it naturalistic or the control laboratory observation?
Naturalistic observation.
Control laboratory observation, or we call it artificial observation. Okay. So they were placed in experimental chambers for 6 months and they were reared by surrogate mothers. Have you heard of surrogate mothers? Yes, surrogates for pregnancy, surrogate mothers. Have you heard of that? If you have heard of it, tell me what is it? Surrogate. What do you mean by a surrogate? Usually in medical terms, when we use it, we refer this to a woman who is, the surrogate mother, who is giving birth to somebody else child. It's like maybe some women, if they are infertile or if they don't have the capability to give birth to a child, what they do is they might take the ovum from the biological mother and the sperm from the the biological father, and then that will be fused to form a zygote, obviously, and then this will be implanted in the uterus of the surrogate mother, and this surrogate mother will carry this the fetus inside her womb till the whole gestation period, and then after the delivery, that will be the baby will be given to the biological parents, back to the biological parents. Okay, that is basically surrogate mother. Now here we'll see who was the surrogate mother. So what happened is, the baby monkeys, they were separated from the biological mothers, they were placed in the experimental chamber for 6 months, and they were reared by, or they were taken care of by the surrogate mothers. Okay, now half baby monkeys fed by cloth mother and other half by wire mothers. Okay, so here the surrogate mothers were not humans, nor were they some other animals, but one set of monkeys, baby monkeys, they were fed by cloth mother. The other set was fed by wire mother. I'll show you who the cloth mother and wire mother was. Okay, so they were divided. The group of baby monkeys, they were divided into half. One set was fed by the cloth mother. The other set was fed by the wire mother. Okay, so these are the surrogate mothers. So in Harlow and Harlow study, who are the surrogate mothers? One is the cloth mother. The other one is the wire mother. Clear? Okay. So most of them preferred cloth mother regardless of who fed them. Okay. And what was found out after the study was, most of them preferred to be with the cloth mother. They formed an attachment towards the cloth mother, irrespective of the fact that they got the feeding from whichever mother. Irrespective of that feeding factor, they were attached. Most of them were attached. That is the baby monkeys. Most of them was attached towards the cloth mother. It shows the importance of contact comfort. So as I told you, not only the feed or not only the eating factor, the food factor, it's also this contact comfort that is important for attachment. Okay. I'll show you the picture. See. These are the two. This one is the cloth mother. This one is the wire mother. Can you see that this feeding bottle is attached to this? Okay. So even though they got the food or the edible things from this wire mother, they were more attached towards the cloth mother. Too many arrows on the board. Just a minute. Okay. Even though they got the feed from this mother, that is a wire mother, they were attached more to the cloth mother. Okay, the monkey looks very cute, isn't it? Yes. So this is about the cloth mother and the wire mother. These are the surrogate mothers. Okay. So the feed was attached, even though I told you half of the monkeys was reared by this one and half of the one were read by this one. But after the study, after this, what was the period, time period? See, 6 months. After this observation period or the experimental period, it was observed that most of them were attached to this one, this cloth mother. And this study proves the importance of contact comfort. which might be even more important than the food material. Okay. So I'll give you an example. If it is in the case of human beings, okay, and in one situation, the mother is very much physically comforting the infant, and also providing the feed. Okay. And in the other case, the mother is very ignorant towards the infant, and also maybe physically not very close to the infant, not physically present in front of the infant, but she is providing the feed. If there is somebody else in the house who is giving the child physical comfort, then there is a chance that they'll get more attached towards that attachment figure, the other person who's giving the physical comfort. Okay, so the whole point of studying this is not only the food material that we get or the edible things that we get, the physical comfort is also important for attachment. Okay, that is the whole point. It's a very famous study, the Vaya Mother and the Cloth Mother, the Surrogate Mothers. Okay, it was conducted by Harlow and Harlow in the year 1962. The training or the whole rearing part was conducted for 6 months. And another numerical factor you have to remember here is the 8 hours. After the birth, baby monkeys were separated from their biological mothers after 8 hours. And they were reared by surrogate mothers for 6 months. There were 2 types of surrogate mothers. One is wire, one is it was made of wire mesh. That's why they call it the wire mother. Other one was cloth mother. And they were divided into half, that I already told, I think. Then what? Yeah, after the study, it was found that most of them prefer the cloth mother. And it proves that the contact comfort is also important for attachment, for forming attachments. Okay. That's the main part in socio-emotional development. Now, human babies also form an attachment with their parents or caregivers who consistently and appropriately, okay, reciprocate the signals of love and affection. And Erickson's theory also, this is another different theory, okay. So first stage concerns infancy. In Erickson's theory, there are 8 stages, but the first stage is concerned with infancy, that is trust versus mistrust. So the first stage in Erickson's theory. If the parents are sensitive, affectionate, and accepting, then they form a secure attachment. That is, the infants form a secure attachment. So what develops? Trust develops. Now, if the parents are insensitive, that is insensitive to the needs of the infant, and shows dissatisfaction and finds fault with children all the time, if they are telling do's and don'ts and you're doing it wrong, I'll show you how to do it. And then if they are always giving the negative comments, then obviously they'll form only an insecure attachment, and obviously mistrust will develop in them. If trust develops, then they'll think that this whole world is a very happy place to live in. We can trust people. Okay. And when they have this trust issues, obviously they'll develop the mistrust form of attachment, or we call it insecure attachment. Okay. This is just one part of Erickson's theory. Only this part is there to study in the whole part of socio-emotional development. Okay, so I think it's time to stop. I'll just take the attendance and leave. Revise this portion and come for the next class. Okay. So I think with that, we have completed this infancy stage. From next class onwards, we'll see childhood. Okay. Thank you.